What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Beyond the Trail podcast, brought to you by Jester, Wallis Productions. And we are here this evening for our third installment of the Director's Cut. Austin, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Happy New Year. What's going on? Did you have a good New Year?
I did. You know what I
Did
did? There was this meme or gif or whatever you call it going around Instagram where it was like these tickets and it said like, join
I
me
saw
this
this.
evening. That was me. Join me this evening for an evening, on the couch watching your favorite movie and going to sleep at 7:30. That was me.
That's the only way to do it anymore.
How about you? Did you work or anything, or were you able to
No,
enjoy?
no. This is the first time I have not had to work in a long time, so I took advantage of it. Went to bed, rung in the New Year asleep. It was great.
And I must
Highly
say,
recommend.
we are both cheering on our Ohio State Buckeyes. So a big OH Austin to you.
Go Bucks, baby.
Yeah, we are ready. So, with that being said, y'all, we are excited tonight about our third installment. And I must say, thank you for everybody that is in the chat. We truly appreciate y'all being here, joining us on this January 2nd. 2025. And Austin, I've got three things, and I actually made a note in my phone that I want to go over with before we get started. So the first thing is you are killing it on these thumbnails for this Director's Cut series. So you said you've been having some fun in Photoshop. So talk about that for a second.
Well, so first and foremost, the credit goes to Heidi Nisbet from Sketching Summits because we're using all of the artwork that she created for the film, which is hands down amazing. Um, One of the things that we told Heidi when we were, talking about creating this artwork is that it should be all black and white, everything that she did, and she was cool with that. And so it kind of happened on accident as we started creating the thumbnails for the director's cut. We tried to use Heidi's artwork that kind of matched what we were going to be talking about in each episode. And normally the way it works is I'll create a thumbnail and I'll kind of just send a rough draft to Julie. Hey, what do you think? And it was either you or Stella that had the idea to like add just a little bit of color.
Oh,
And
don't give
so the
Stella that credit. That was me.
well, Stella's usually the artistic director. But
Y'all, Stella's in the chat, by the way. Give her a shout out.
so that's where it started. You had the idea then to add just like one object in the art would be color. So in the first one, it was the parka. In the second episode, I colored in the helmets of the team, and then this one, if you look, is the actual film artwork that we used for the movie poster, the main film. And so what I did in Photoshop was actually um, that was the one art or one piece of artwork that Heidi did in color because it was she modeled it after a photo that Elizabeth Clements had taken on Klingman's Dome of the search and rescue team while they were resting in between searches, looking for her mom. And so that was the inspiration for that artwork. And so it was at sunset or sunrise, one of the two. Um, and so she made that one in color. And so all I did was do some Photoshop magic and select everything but the team and make that black and white, and then kept the team as the original color. So the team is colored in with the original color, and everything else is black and white. So I've been learning a little bit about Photoshop in the process, and it's just been fun creatively to kind of excrete a little bit of creative juice every now and then. So it's been fun.
That seems to be what our entire process of everything is learning,
Yeah,
messing up and learning. So there we
exactly.
go. But I wanted to give you kudos on that, those thumbnails. And then I also wanted to remind you 1 year ago, yesterday, we released the trailer for Safe and Found, and we were just laughing. We were so excited. We released it at midnight. So I can't remember. Did we stay up till midnight? I can't remember what we did last year.
Somebody watched it at midnight. I'm sure. No,
But yeah, we
but
were
yeah.
very excited about the trailer, and then another mark as of about 6:30 p.m. Safe and Found has 19,656 views, and a goal that I just made up in my brain is I wanted over 20,000 views by the time we hit the year mark, and that'll be January 21st. So we need everybody's help. We need all of you in the chat, all 8 or 9 of you, to share the film, and then your friends will share the film. And so on. So we're excited. I think we'll do it by January 21st. It's been growing over just the last 2 weeks.
It's so humbling to think about. Obviously there's some there's some people out there that watch it more than once, but like it's humbling to think that something that we have created has reached that many people. Um, and people that don't live in the Southeast, people that are all over the world, because you can look and see where your viewers are, kind of geographically. So it's been really humbling to kind of see that and see the message is so well received. Um, because I think it's a universal message that we try to send with Safe and Found, and it's clearly resonating, and it feels really good as a creator to see it get appreciated and shared so much. So yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's exciting to see that continued on YouTube. It just has that steady incline, and that is great to see because most of my stuff does this, boop, and then straight back down. So it's great.
That's kind of the Side Trail Adventures bell curve as well.
So
But
hey,
that's
at
okay.
least we got one thing going for us, right?
Right, exactly.
So this evening, y'all, we are in our third installment, and this is a series that Austin and I are extremely excited about. This is why we're doing this. We're showing you the behind the scenes of how the two of us really put this film together, how Austin did all of his magic in the editing process, how we built storyboards, and all the above. So, Austin, before I flip to our screen that has all the magic, do you want to give any insight maybe to who, some behind the, what they're going to see tonight from our behind the scenes footage?
Well, was one of the things that we talked about throughout the project was that there was so much stuff that was said on camera, um, by folks that we've interviewed, that just there's no possible way we could create a watchable film that included all of it. And so this has kind of been the way that we get to kind of share some of that stuff that we can't share, in a polished product. Um, and so this next episode, so the first episode, I encourage you, if you haven't seen the other two episodes, go back and watch them. The first episode was a huge interview for us. Elizabeth Clements, who's the daughter of Susan Clements, who died in the Smokies. Um, and one could argue is the inspiration for the film itself. So we started with her and showed some additional footage from her interview. Then episode two was what we're kind of calling the round table. And so we had some heavy hitters from the search and rescue community, some of the directors and sheriff and that kind of thing. They sat around the table and talked with us and with each other. And we got all that on camera. And so that was really cool. And so this episode are three individual team members. Now, these are the guys that are going out on these searches. These are the guys getting their boots dirty. Um, and so that we've got Patrick Robinson, Eric Soley, and then Lane DeCoste are the three interviews that we're going to pull from for tonight's episode. And what was cool was that, and I can't remember if it comes out in the footage that we're going to show tonight, but everybody kind of has their own skill set, their own specialty on the team. And so each of these guys kind of has their own specialty. And it was kind of cool. We'll get into it at some point down the road, but Julie and I got to be a part of a training event with the Haywood County Search and Rescue team. And so I embedded with a team that was going out on this training search. And so I got paired up with Patrick's team, and watching him in action and tracking was absolutely it was just mesmerizing and just incredible that he could identify like all these different things about, because Nancy was the person that was lost in the training event. He could identify all of these things just by looking at the trail and the environment around, and tracking her. And it was pretty cool. It gives you a huge appreciation for the expertise and the talent, and the just hours and hours and hours that these guys put in to be effective on a search. So that's kind of what resonated with me. So it was cool. But all of these interviews were before that training event. But yeah. So I think if you, Julie, if you want to switch over again, yeah, there we go. So with each interview that we did, uh, we went back and kind of broke it down into these little manageable chunks so that we could kind of figure out where the footage that we were going to use was, so that when it came time to kind of put the storyline together, I could go in and kind of easily navigate through all of the different interviews. And so this was the format that we came up with. So each of these slides represents the interviews. And so normally they're in green, but for the purposes of tonight, we tried to pull out a few bits and pieces from each one. And so those are the ones that we're going to talk about, the ones in blue. Um, excuse me. So this is our plan for tonight. This is our roadmap.
And
But
thank you, Austin, for the roadmap. I truly appreciate that.
this one
And
was a little different.
one of the things I do want to say before we get into it, if you go back and watch last month's episode, episode number 2, they talked about a rescue that they did for Julie Hayes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, well, you guys will hear that several of these folks joined the search and rescue team because of the Julie Hayes rescue.
Yeah.
And it still makes me want to reach out to Julie Hayes. Who knows? Maybe in the future she'll join us on the podcast. Never say never. But I think that rescue was a huge catalyst to the current team that we met, all of them
Yeah.
getting together.
Yeah. Uh, the just kind of a little bit of background. So that was a high profile search. They garnered a lot of media attention, and so as you'll see in these interviews, uh, the newspaper articles that came out about that search were what garnered a lot of attention to these new members, and so they all kind of joined around the same time, but for different reasons, which I think is cool. So we'll get to hear about that. But yeah, that was one of the, just as the Susan Clements search was kind of the inspiration for Nancy's book, and kind of her move into preventative search and rescue. Um, the Julie Hayes search was that for a lot of team members. That was kind of their, oh, I didn't even know that existed. That's something I've got this skill set, or I have this desire to help. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I think unless you got anything else, Julie, I'll switch
No, I
over.
think we're ready.
So this first clip is from each of the team members, and you'll hear the question and the answer, but essentially why they joined the team. So here we go.
So 2015 seems to be the year that individuals that we've been talking with became part of the Haywood County Search and Rescue. So talk to us, go into a little bit of depth of, this is your hometown, these are your roots, you've ventured out, you've come back. What brought you to the team? Why did you want to do this?
Well, after spending a lot of time doing backpacking and in these areas, Shining Rock Wilderness, other neighboring wilderness areas, you know, I think I was working one day and happened to see that there was a rather large scale search that was underway on the slopes of Cold Mountain and things like that. So uh, that kind of drew my attention to it. But then I kind of got on the internet and started looking, and I was like, well, hey, wait, there is a SAR organization in our county. I didn't really know about it. And look at this, they're taking applications. So let's just see where this goes, that kind of thing. And got an immediate response from a really nice guy, and was very welcoming. It was all like, it's cool, let's come and see what we're about, and that kind of thing. And so my interest came from it was that, helping others to a core is, I know these areas, why might these injuries be happening and things like that, why are people going, getting lost in areas that are just highly traveled now and things like that. So it's easy to do. I mean, it's very easy to get turned around.
When we first moved up here, we were sitting at the library. My wife walked over and plopped a weekly newspaper down in my lap and said, "You should read that." And on the front page, it was a story about an assistant DA out of Knoxville who had gone missing over in Pisgah, which is currently our search area. She was missing for a couple of days. And long story short, she had fallen off the side of a cliff. She had stopped to take a break, leaned up against a tree. The tree was rotten. It broke. She went over the side, and she was down there for, I think, 2 or 3 days. The Haywood County Search and Rescue Team are the ones who found them, and it was a broader effort, as multi-day searches tend to be. And at the end of the article, it said, "We're an all-volunteer organization. If you have any interest, call this number." And I said, "Yeah,
Sign me up.
sign me up." So
Interesting.
I joined, it's probably going on 6 years ago now, and went through all the training. And I'm sure Mike and Nancy have talked to you extensively about the training that we all go through. And
So what year was that?
that would have been 2015 coming into 2016. We moved up here in 2015, and I don't think I did my. I'm not a cold weather guy, and I did my first training was a winter exercise up at Balsam Mountain. And I think when we came off trail that day, it was 20 degrees, and I went home and told my wife, I said, I need some new gear because Florida gear is not cutting it up here. Yeah.
So tell us why you got involved with search and rescue. Kind of lead us to how you got there and maybe your why at that particular time.
So for me, I was in the military, National Guard, then did some deployments, and got back and felt like I needed to do something else. Flipped open the paper one day, and there was this search and rescue team was forming, and it started at Haywood Search and Rescue. And so for me, I was like, this sounds great. I love to hike, rock climb, mountain bike. It was just it seemed like a good fit. I went to the first meeting, met Mike Street, and from there it was kind of like, okay, this is where I want to put my energy, as far as doing a service back to the community, having a team to be a part of, and it gives me a little bit of purpose, So that was what was important for me, and it's just something I love doing.
So was there any particular case, or was it just, you saw that the team was forming? Was there a particular search?
Not that I can remember. I literally was reading the paper at my in-laws' house one day and saw this. I saw a picture of a team of people with their helmets, and they were doing something over a waterfall. I was like, that's in our county? And so that was it. I don't remember a certain search that drew me to it.
Go ahead, Julie. I'm going to fix this real quick.
All right. So first of all, y'all, sorry about that. You were able to hear the sound, and the lips weren't moving at the same time, but Austin's going to fix that. Here's another little behind the scenes. all of those interviews were in Nancy's kitchen. So we were completely set up at her kitchen counter, and as you can see, he has that up there. That was one of her bay windows in the kitchen. And the really cool thing about all of the guys that we interviewed were their particular stories of why they wanted to be involved in an all volunteer search and rescue team. And quite honestly, this interview right here, the gentleman on the screen, I remember his interview impacted me so greatly, along with Lane and Patrick as well. But I really wanted to dive into their individual stories. And between the three of them and the other team members that we interviewed, they all had such fantastic stories and everything that led them to being on the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team. So quite fascinating and a privilege, again, to get to interview these folks.
For sure. I just remembered. Okay.
Are we still having technical? See, y'all, this is what happens when you go live. There, you always risk something happening, and that's okay because I could talk about these guys forever. Austin, you just need to let me know when we're ready.
It's chewing on the next clip. That was on me, but yeah, it was so. What I thought was neat was just that it was. The theme was that it was a calling. They all three of these guys were called to this team, and I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason because it didn't make this part of the interview or this part of the cut, but each of them talked about the things that they get from the team, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit in this next clip. But Eric, for example, he's talking about he was looking at trying to go back into the military because he just had this gap in his life, where he wanted to feel like he was contributing. And at that particular time in his life, the military seemed like the only option. But then here comes this newspaper article out of left field, and then plops in his lap, and here's this means of giving him purpose in his life. So that was one of the things that kind of registered with me during the interview was like, what a fantastic gift to be able to a gift for Eric to be able to feel like you're contributing in that way and give your life that purpose because that's pretty hard to come by, quite honestly. We would all be so fortunate to be able to find that calling in our lives. So that was what registered with me throughout the whole thing was, each of these guys were called in one form or another, and for different reasons, to be a part of this team. And what's cool is like I said, they've all kind of grown their own specialties. Patrick is the tracker, Eric's the ropes guy. And Lane says he's kind of the master of none because he's like I think he said it, but in some of the interviews it didn't make it, but
yeah, he did. He said
he
had some pun because Lane was good at that. He could rattle off something and I'd be like, oh my gosh, we got to remember that, and of course I never remembered. Yeah, he had some good sayings for sure.
So while that's chewing on it, we'll bring up the next clip. So I think we kind of just keep right on going with Eric's interview, and so we're going to go in and talk about what keeps them on the team, because again, these are all volunteers. Not one of them is getting a paycheck, and so that's a lot to put on the line. These guys are sacrificing their time and by default their family's time, their time with their family. They miss out on a lot of life experiences because they're either on a search or they've got the required training. We get into a little bit of that at the end of the episode, but they sacrifice a lot, and so to not get paid it's kind of interesting. Eric actually points it out that it's probably better that way. So yeah, let's pull that up, and we'll probably it'll probably still buffer for a little bit because it's still chewing on the footage, but we'll just deal with it. So here we
Yeah,
go.
they could hear the audio, so that's the
Yeah.
main point. It's interesting because a lot of your fellow search and rescue members, it all seems to be similar time frame. I saw, an article, I saw that this team was forming, and it's so intriguing to me that first of all, it's been a while, 8 or 9 years ago, and you guys are all volunteer.
Right.
So what is it, in two particular aspects, what is it that keeps you volunteering with your team? What is it about the team aspect of it that keeps you wanting to do this, wanting to be a team member, wanting to go out and search for people, find people, help people get out of the woods?
I think it's in the question. The answer is it's the team. There's such a core group of people that you trust your life with. You go out into the woods mostly at night, a lot of times in dangerous situations, and you have a purpose. And that, to me, that you put those two things together, and it's kind of like, this is going to be a good day. So that helps, like I said, fill that void that I was missing from the military without going back in uniform. And I think just also knowing it is a service to the community and our surrounding area. I go out with my family, and I like to know that if something happens, they're going to be there for us. And to be a part of that's just a really neat thing.
One of the themes that I heard yesterday, speaking with Nancy, speaking with Mike, and listening at your meeting last night, is you all are a determined group. And one of the things that I learned was I want you all to come find me. Right. What is that about your team, a volunteer team, where you all have that camaraderie where you make me feel confident that if I'm hiking in your neck of the woods and something happens to me, you're going to come find me? I believe you will.
Right.
What is that mindset?
Yeah, there are two things that I can attribute it to. The first one is we don't have any big egos. There are some folks that are instructors in Western North Carolina and actually maybe even further throughout the state. I mean, they're renowned, they're well known for their skill set and their knowledge, and they teach. And they teach willingly and they teach obsessively. I mean, their schedules are always full teaching with full-time jobs and family. And none of the folks that I've hiked with for the last 6 years on the team, nobody has a big ego about that. And the second thing is that, the way the team is run, while everybody has a base level of training, we have the required level for the state to be trained. But there are folks who are better. My wife and I have a saying, let those who do best do. There are folks who are really, really good with ropes. I'm not necessarily the guy you want setting up a high angle rescue rope. I'm not that guy. I'll tie the anchors, but if you get Kyle or Graham or a couple of the other guys in there, those are the guys who want to do it. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not, annoyed that they're better than me. And that's the same attitude that goes throughout. Folks have specific skills, and they're willing to offer those skills to the team for benefit of the team, for benefit of the person we're searching for. And that's been the main difference of all the organizations I've been into for my entire life. I've joined and belonged to a lot of organizations. There's usually some personality conflicts. There's usually some ego involved somewhere in the chain, and I just haven't seen it. So that's the main thing. And the second thing behind that is because of that, there aren't any alternate agendas. The agenda is find the patient and get them out.
Describe the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team. So your core group of individuals, I think somebody threw a number out there last night. There's 42 people. So describe who you guys are as a team and how you guys operate together. I know that's a large question, so take your time. Describe who you are at the core.
Well, we're what I like to think is a well-oiled machine at the core. That's just how I like to see it. But
You said exactly what I wanted you to say.
but excuse me. No, so I mean, like we come from all walks of life. There's people that have all sorts of backgrounds, but we all have a basic interest in mind, and that's we want people to go out. We all go out and enjoy these areas, and we want everybody to go out and do that, do it safely, and return home. And for the team, it's you might see us together, and when we're out and about having fun and doing stuff, it's we're having fun and things like that. But we get a call, and business is first and foremost, and that's what we do. And not business aspect of like it's all volunteer, but it's what we do is we take it very seriously. And there's
What keeps you coming back, especially over these last 24 hours? We have learned so much,
right.
so much more, than I thought we would. You guys it's volunteer. You've been doing this since 2015. That's 8 years. What keeps you on the team? You as an individual, what keeps you coming back?
Well, the solid foundation of the camaraderie we have. I mean, that's just where it is. I've gone through lots of highs and lows in my life, and there's always been somebody from the team there, and that's just how we are.
Your family.
Yeah, we're family. I'm gonna get emotional. No, I'm joking.
You can get emotional if you want.
No, it really is like it's more than just a group of people that have a like-minded effort and desired outcome for all these calls. It's the idea of have a sense of community, and you're doing something for your community. That's how I feel, at least.
These are the things. It was so good for us to be at y'all's meeting last night, because these are the things that I think people, they're not even thinking about carrying a map, let alone if something happens to them, how they're going to get out of there.
Absolutely.
And then the training and everything that goes behind it. And I still go back to you guys are volunteer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes it worth it. Because if it was a paid thing, that would be a different view of it, right? Oh, we got to go do a job. For us, it's kind of, we've got this passion and we want to help people, and it's pretty cool we don't have to go do it.
There you go.
That's interesting that it's all, like you say, better that it's a volunteer organization.
Yeah, I've never heard that, but I love that. Yeah. It's almost better that you don't get paid, because then it's not a passion.
Right, it just becomes a job.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You could never get paid with
No.
Anyway.
Well, we won't talk about that.
I just find it incredible. I mean, it's just, I'm learning too, and I'm all about, people being safe on the trail, but I don't know the search and rescue perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. It's incredible that you just have to have a love for it, is what I mean. And it's just got to be like, when you want to do something and it's in here, you can't fight it.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
I love what you said
Or-
about it being a volunteer position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, when you're carrying somebody out and it's been 4.5 hours and you're like this, I mean, you wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, your arms are about to fall off.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's pouring rain
Exactly.
and it's freezing cold.
It's the camaraderie of our team that gets me through those moments.
That's right. And we're going to joke about it. We're not going to complain. I mean, I think that's the
Man, he's that voice in the background, y'all, is Nancy. And it's so cool, to hear her voice and to hear them chat with each other. So you guys have heard a little bit about what brought these guys to the team, and now what keeps them on the team. And just that, and Austin and I have been so lucky to see that camaraderie. What I was referring to when I was asking the question, we got to go to a team meeting the evening before, and they did some demonstrations. Nancy did a presentation, and I think there were 100 and something people in that room. We were packed in. Austin and I were standing room only. We were in the back. And, we were just like, I was like a sponge in the back, just trying to absorb everything, every single thing
Yeah.
they said. And I know we've mentioned this before, that Nancy's kind of like the team mother. And at that meeting, next thing you know, she, whips out cookies that everybody's going over. And I mean, seriously, I don't even remember her putting them in the car. But it's just, they're that kind of group. They just take care of each other without even talking. And before we get to the next point, this team right now, because of Hurricane Helene, they are exhausted, is about the best way I can put it. I have been in contact with Nancy, and it's just, they're overwhelmed and they're tired. And my heart just still goes out for them. And these guys were right out there on September 27th and the 28th, just putting it on the line, trying to make sure people were not flood victims. So right now, they're tired, they're exhausted, but they're still going. So I just want you guys to think about that as we go. And it just reminds me of how amazing these individuals are. So you've heard what brought them to the team. You've heard what keeps them to the team. And I think our next thing is, actually talking about searches for them and people getting lost. And I know our video has been sketchy a little bit, but the audio itself, you can hear and understand, and you can see their faces. And, to be in front of these guys hanging out in Nancy's kitchen, there's not much better than that, was there, Austin?
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool for
Yeah.
sure. It's just the selfless is the word that keeps coming to my mind. Because Lane talked about it, where there's no egos on the team, because everybody is selfless. They're there for one purpose, and that's for, that person that's lost, the patient. And so that's what resonated with me the most, was just, and just from my experience with the team, Lane's right. There are some really talented people, heavy hitters that are very accomplished, really, really skilled, really, really good at what they do. And they just show up like anybody else, and they do the job, and they help the people around them get better. And so it's just an amazing group of people.
I know we're going to go on and on, but we must.
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
must,
They deserve
because
it.
honestly, this is the group I want to come find me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not that I would intentionally get lost in Haywood County, but I'd feel okay about it if, it did happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we know we'd get yelled at. So at this point, if we had to call Nancy and say, you need to come get us, please help.
See what happened was.
All right, what we got next on the docket here?
So the next clip kind of gets into a little bit of the expertise aspect of it. And so this is from both Lane and Eric. Lane talking about, and it was as you talk about his one-liners. Like when this one-liner came out, we were like, oh yeah, that's going in the film. If you can read the screen, you can probably already see what it is, but I'll let Lane say it. But then Eric talks a little bit about kind of how they generate plans based on what they call lost person behavior, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way, to let Final Cut Pro chew on this footage a little more.
Oh.
So I'm just going to pull up the video.
Well, look how fancy you just got there, Austin.
I'm going to play the video. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Here we go.
This is how we roll, people.
Be angry at the victim, and you can't be angry at life. Life happens. You step off the trail, you go back to the trail, and you don't know which way you came off, and you don't know how to get back to the trail. Whose fault is that? You could fault somebody for saying that, but when you step off trail, you're not thinking, oh, I'm only going 50 yards off trail.
We've all done it, multiple times.
Maybe I won't find my way back. Nobody thinks that until it happens. And we teach them in the class, okay, if that happens, how do you find your way back to the trail? How do you quarter or circle or whatever you're doing? When you leave trail, take your hiking pole, put it on the trail, pointing in the direction you came off. So at least if we're coming to look for you, go, oh, look, a hiking pole pointing the direction they went off trail. That's a clue. We've talked with folks about, I always tell folks that they're going to be their own first responder. So if they get hurt on trail, they need to have some minimal level of first aid knowledge and first aid gear in their kit, because they may have to wait. From the time we get the tone out to the time we actually get on trail, it's going to be a minimum of an hour, hour and a half, because most of us are volunteers. I'm probably the farthest away from Pisgah. It takes me 45 minutes door to door before I even get there.
I'm going to steal that from you. You need to be your own first responder.
Yeah. You need to be prepared that you're the rescue.
And that's something, you saying the 3 days triggered something in me just now, because I never thought of this. So if somebody doesn't have a plan and then somebody calls 3 days later, you're 3 days behind in finding that person. Absolutely. And that throws your search 3 days behind. Mm-hmm. And so you have to tack on, well, they've been out there 3 days, and you guys have been at it 3 days. So really it's 6 days that this has been going on. They've been going. So how do you attack that?
A lot of times we'll refer to the lost person behavior book and just kind of work through that wealth of knowledge that they've compiled. And it's really a matrix, and it just starts checking off and giving us kind of a parameter or a list of parameters to work within on where do we start, what should we be looking for, how far out should we be looking. But that's kind of our Bible, is the lost person behavior, because other than just guessing, that's the science that we use.
That's interesting. So the lost, and there's an app that goes with that too, right? Absolutely. So how do those work together? I keep meaning to ask that. I keep forgetting. So it's the book. I know it's like a 3-ring binder of like, and you're studying behaviors. This person does X. Can you give us like just a little example of maybe something?
Right. So and don't read the book like you're going to read a novel, right? Because it's really just data and plug and play numbers and statistics and backgrounds. But you would just the scenario is you have a whatever the age of the person is. Do they have any medical issues? And you just start plugging this in. Male, female, it gets down to right hand, left hand. Really? Do they have any past history? What is their experience? And the list is just exhaustive. And then it starts spitting out these datum for you to use. It's pretty phenomenal, the guys that put that together.
So
another recurring theme that keeps popping up with
there we go. We are batting 1,000 tonight, folks.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That was some valuable insight right there.
So first off, you are your own first responder. Man, I agree. It's a new tattoo idea. I like that idea. Yeah, that's huge. And just a little personal story. So my brother and I, during the filming of Safe and Found in 2023, my brother and I went out and in the middle of March tried to do a portion of Mountain Sea Trail Segment 3 from Asheville up to Mount Mitchell. And the parkway was closed just because of snow and ice, and then the weather turned really, really bad. And long story short, we had to be our own first responders. There was nobody coming to get us. When we decided that we had bit off more than we could chew, it was kind of like, well, that's tough. You're going to have to figure it out. And so that's what we had to do. And so that's why Lane's thing is so true. You have to be, nobody plans to get lost. Nobody wants to get lost. But lots of people do. And so if you kind of lean forward into that a little bit, you become your own first responder, and you keep yourself from being a casualty just by doing simple, small things. And I guess that's kind of the theme of the whole film. But Lane kind of just spelled it out in no uncertain terms. And I just thought that was awesome.
I could have listened to him all afternoon, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
And one of the other things that's interesting, and I think it'll probably come out in our next episode because we're actually going to talk more in depth. Um, in the David Crockett search, they call it the Snow Boys. They tried to use this lost person behavior to kind of get a game plan together to go look for those guys. And what was interesting, and Lane talked about it in his interview, um, is they used that lost person behavior, but they didn't uh, factor in that these guys were actually running. They weren't just hiking, and so they were moving a lot faster, a lot farther than what the teams had predicted. And so that's why it took longer for them to be found. One was because they didn't stay put and they kept moving, but the other was they like the circle that they were searching in was way too small, but they didn't know it. So I thought that was interesting, that they were using that lost person behavior, and yeah, it wasn't that it was wrong. It was just that they didn't. Nobody said these guys are trail runners or they're out there, and so, but it all goes back to leave a plan. If you leave a plan, if somebody back at home knows what you're doing, where you are, or just even a general idea of what you're doing, that helps with that lost behavior or that lost person behavior plan that they come up with. All of that gets factored in there. So it's just that's why they say these simple things: leave a plan, carry the 10 essentials. These things have purpose behind it, and so that's why I thought that was really cool.
All right. So are we going back to normal or are we going back to the video?
Yeah, it has chewed on the last clip, so we can play the last clip like normal.
Oh, nice.
Let me pull this back up. So the last one is just a little bit from Patrick about always being ready, and I just kind of chose Patrick because we left him out of the last clip. But all of these guys, when we talk to them, all have their gear ready to go all the time. And so we just chose Patrick's to share with tonight, but all of these guys are the same way. And then he talks a little bit about the training that they go through.
Another recurring theme that keeps popping up with each of you guys that we've interviewed is you're ready to go at any time.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go right now?
I got stuff in my truck. I mean, if we get the call, other than my phone being on silent, but I'm sure I'd see it, the call and stuff like, yeah, no, we're ready 24/7 to roll. Life, we all have lives though, so I mean, like there is times where life just doesn't, we got family events, things like that, so birthdays. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of ready to go at any moment.
And what does that consist of? So you say you're ready to go. What's in your car?
So I'll have my big pack, and I carry two relative packs. Like one's going to be a hasty surge pack. It's a Mountain Smith lumbar pack. It's about 13 liter. I love it. It's, rides low, carries just the essentials. That's like when we know we're going to get somebody that's on a trail. The givens are there, and I don't need to take X amount of 15 extra liters of stuff. But the big pack, which I do carry that probably 9 times out of 10, just because like you just never know what you're getting into, other than those, certain calls where it's like, yeah, we're just lost right here. We just don't have any idea where we're at. But the big pack's ready to roll. It's got everything we need in it. Carry your big, technical gear for ropes and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to keep up with to a certain degree, because like you're always having to seasonally change stuff out here, and be ready. 4th of July, I mean, it can be pretty hot down here, but we've had calls and it'd be 60 degrees on top of the mountain, So we're always going to be treating a patient for hypothermia first and foremost. That's what we do. So we're always carrying extra gear anyway. So we never really get in the woods light. I'll just put it like that. It's always a pack, chest rig, everything's ready to go in the truck.
So how do you keep yourself individually in shape, prepared, ready to go. Because it's almost, to me, you guys are just, you're athletes. You're constantly in training.
Well, going out and being in the woods helps. It's like kind of like my form of what I like to do. The types of jobs I've had in the past also have kind of delegated physical labor and things like that. A lot of walking. I used to work a job where we would walk a minimum of 13 miles, 14 miles on each shift. So
Wow.
yeah, and stuff like that. So so building those endurance and those, but I mean, we can get calls, and like if it's up certain trails that maybe we might not use all the time because they're like goat pass. I'll definitely feel it the next day. I'm like, oh, that kind of thing. But no, we do pack tests. We have an annual pack test. The physical fitness part of it is important. We don't want to become a liability, something to us, if something's going on. It's two people to get out of the woods then at that point in time. So, but just try to stay healthy, eat healthy.
Do the best you can.
Yeah, have a garden, always raise a garden, stuff like that. And just can't get away from that kind of stuff. I just love it. So.
One of the
So
things
good.
I can't remember what interview. It might have been Larry East that told us about the competition that these team members have with each other. It's kind of like an informal competition, but they have this app where they track each other's workouts. So like
I
they can
forgot about
see-
that. I forgot about that.
so they can see when the other person is working out, what they did to work out. And so it's like a pseudo competition, but these guys train like athletes. They motivate each other like athletes, because the physical fitness aspect of it is absolutely key. I mean, you think about they're going into some of the most rugged country the Southeast has to offer, and not only are they going in there, but they're going to carry somebody else and all of their stuff out. One of the times, one search, they extricated the patient, but then they just didn't have enough arms, and so they left the patient's gear out in the middle of the woods. And so Nancy, being Nancy, said, "Oh, I'll go get it." And I can't remember how far it was, but it was enough that like not anybody was just going to go in there. And she hiked back in, got all of their stuff, and then hiked it all back out. So that takes an athlete to do that. And so that's the one thing, like it's not just something that they sign up for and then they, go to the meetings once a week or, this is something that they carry around with them every single day, figuratively and literally. So literally they've got, stuff in their car, the gear is ready to go, but they carry that mindset with them everywhere they go. And that was what resonated with me. It was just like, these guys are living this, they're volunteers doing this, but they live it, which I think is just, it's humbling to be just to watch it and be a part of it. In a small
True
sense.
heroes. And so, and I saw something a week or so ago that the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team, they were out doing and practicing rope situations where I-40 that crosses from North Carolina into Tennessee collapsed during Hurricane Helene, and they were out there doing exercises in that area, practicing, probably searching, but not saying. I don't have confirmation on that by no means, but there's always a reason for their training, and it's to better their skills, it's to train people, and they're true heroes. And us watching those three guys tonight just reminds me of probably how much work they've done since September, since Hurricane Helene. So keep the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team in your prayers. And I saw that Stella did put their nonprofit, which is the Western North Carolina, or the WNC Wilderness Safety Fund. That is the fund that we were raising money for from the film. And if you feel so inclined, you can give them a donation as well. And that, I promise you, will go directly to the team and what they need and what the area needs. So as far as their own gear and supplies and things that they need as a team to do what they do. So again, another, Austin, it's so great to watch and hear from those guys. For a long time, for over a year, I just felt like we were part of their family. That we saw them so much, and I miss them. I miss seeing them. And, interviewing them and letting them see how crazy you and I are. But, so it just brought back memories and a purpose, and the purpose for the film and why we did that. So hopefully these episodes are giving you guys some insights, some behind the scenes look of the footage that did not make the film, but we feel is truly important to still get out there. And I guess that's my closing words, Austin. Do you have any closing words before we head out this evening?
I don't think I can say anything that we haven't said at least 5 times already. But just stay tuned for next month's episode. That's going to be a really cool one. We're going to talk about the two rescues that we cover in the film Safe and Found for David Crockett and Christine Bowman. Their rescues, and so we're going to go through their interviews and some of the stuff that didn't make the cut there. And David's story is just it's fascinating to listen to. Both stories are fascinating to listen to, but especially David's perspective, because he mentally resorted himself to dying. Like he had already kind of come to terms with death while they were out there. And to see him talk about that, you could tell that he was reliving it right there in front of us. So
yeah.
So it was a very humbling interview to be a part of. But we're gonna do that next month. So make sure you come back and we'll talk about that one some more. And Christine's hers, she is a trip. And she said so many good things in her interview. Julie and I talked about it at the end of the interview. We're like, I think we've got all the sound clips we need, because Christine's, not only told her story, but was just saying all the right things that fit with the theme of the film. We're like, this is perfect. It was great. So I'm looking forward to the next episode for sure.
Yeah. I think we interviewed those guys about an hour and a half apiece. And they each got less than 10 minutes in the film. So we're gonna give them some more justice is probably the best way to put it. So you all, thank you again for joining us. I know we both truly appreciate it. And sorry about the little video there, but you guys were able to hear the audio clearly. So that worked out. And we will be back next month. I'm not sure the date. It's the first Thursday in February, believe it or not. We will be back. We'll be featuring Christine and David. And until then, be safe out there, everybody.
And good times.